This video is going to be on solving equations involving vertical angles and linear pairs. Now, there's a couple of things that we need to know. We need to know about vertical angles, linear pairs, and in order to understand those things, I think it's also helpful to understand a circle. So if you have a circle, there is a total of 360 degrees. That's why they call, when someone does a full spin or a one whole rotation, they call it a 360. Now, if we cut that circle in half, right, that's 180 degrees. So what happens is if you have a straight line, right, and it's cut like this, these two angles that make up this half circle, those add up to 180 degrees. That's what's called a linear pair. The other thing you need to know is that when you have two lines that cross, no matter how they cross, since all of these add up to 180 degrees, and since this angle is the same as this angle, no matter how the lines cross, you know that opposite angles are equal to each other. They're the same. That's what vertical angles are, right? So, for example, if you know that this angle is 104 degrees, then that tells you that this angle is 104 degrees. And if you know that these are 104 degrees, since you know the whole thing adds up to 360 and these angles are equal to each other, then you can also figure out how much these ones are. So you really only need one angle in order to figure out all four of these angles, right? So if this is 104 and these add up to 180, that means this must be 76 degrees. And since this is 76, this one's the same because it's opposite from it, right? So that's the idea of vertical angles. Okay. So now that we know this back story, we can go ahead and figure out how much each of these angles are, all right? Let's go ahead and clear the screen. All right, I'm going to make this a little smaller so it's easier to see. Okay, so given the figure below, find the values of x and z. So let's see what we have. We have one z here and we have two x's. Since we have multiple x's, we want to start by finding our x value, okay? Because we don't have anything to figure out z with yet. So let's go ahead and let's think about the relationship between these two angles that have x in it. This angle has x in it, and this angle has x in it, right? Let's think about how those are related to each other. Well, this angle isn't equal to this angle, but these make a straight line together. So this and this together make 180. So if you add these angles, they equal 180. Now just be careful because not in all of these problems are you adding these together. Because if this angle was across from the other angle with an x in it, we would be making them equal to each other instead of adding them together to make 180. In this case, 11x plus 49 plus this angle, 15x, plus 79 equals 180. So let's go ahead and let's combine like terms. We have 11x and 15x, which makes 26x. And then we have 49 and 79. Well, let's think about this as 50 plus 80 and then take away 1 from each. So 50 plus 80 would be 130 minus 2 is 128. And that, if we add that up, that's equal to 180 because they make a straight line together. All right, so let's go ahead and solve this two-step equation. In order to solve for x, we would subtract 128 from both sides. And I like to think of this as, what would I add back to 128 to get to 180? Well, I would have to add back 50, and that would get me to 178, but then I would still need 2 more. So 52 is what I'm left with. So these cancel out, and 26x equals 52. Hey, that's very pretty, because when I divide both of those things by 26, 52 divided by 26, well, 52 is double of 26. So my x value just equals 2. So that's part 1, because I've solved for x. X equals 2. Now I need to solve for z, right? And what do I know about z? Well, I know 2 things about z. I know z is equal to this because they're vertical angles. I also know that z plus this would equal to 180. I think it's easier to set it equal to what's across from it, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's do this in another color. We're solving for z now. So z is going to be equal to, since it's across from, 15x plus 79. But we know what x is already, right? If we didn't, we could not solve this, but we do. So what is x equal to? X is equal to 2. So let's go ahead and plug that in. All right, so 15x is really 15 times 2, which is 30. And what's 30 plus 79? Well, 30 plus 70 is 100, and then 9 more would be 109. So z equals 109. And let's think about why these numbers are so different. 2 for x just represents a number, right? It's representing this variable. It's not a number of degrees. 109 is representing the actual number of degrees here. So if you get a very small number for your x value, but a very large number for your z value, it doesn't mean you did something wrong. It just means that these represent different types of units. One's degrees and one is just a number inside of an expression. All right, hopefully this helps. Just be really careful when you're setting it up. Are these angles adding up to 180 or are they equal to each other?